Hello, my wonderful, beautiful friends. Welcome back to r/EntitledPeople, where you'll hear stories about people who think the world revolves around them and that they can treat anybody however they want. Guys, I hope you're having a lovely day today. And as usual, in today's episode, listen, these stories are just outrageous. I know I say that a lot, but seriously, these stories today blow my mind, especially the last one. As always, guys, thank you so much for coming to hang out with me, and I hope you enjoyed today's stories. Oh, and if you're new here, please do subscribe. I've got like 1,000 emails to go through, so you don't want to miss these crazy stories. So, not much backstory. I'm epileptic and have seizures. Thankfully, my store was actually super understanding of my disability and did everything to help me. Now, this story is a mixture of what I remember and what I was told by my managers what happened. So, there's only one register in the store where you can get cigarettes, lighters, and more expensive liquor, etc. And I happened to be the one working that register. Everything was going completely fine with the usual customer banter when an aura hit me, and it hit me hard. Now, for those of you who are unfamiliar, an aura is a kind of warning sign before a seizure that only you can feel, but can do nothing about. It could be a funny smell, hallucinations, the feeling of slipping out of reality, a number of different things. Anyway, for me this time, it was the feeling that everything was moving in slow motion. The last thing I remember was scanning a box of golf balls and the customer requesting a pack of smokes. All of a sudden, I get the feeling of being frozen in place, which apparently I actually was. And I heard this right before I blacked out. The guy said, "Hello? Hello? Hello? What the hell is wrong with you? Are you even listening to me? I can't believe this. I need smokes. Do you even know what that is? Are you an idiot?" And just like that, I was gone. I woke up on the floor surrounded by my managers. One customer was awesome enough to go run and get help. From what I understand, the whole time I was on the floor having a seizure, the guy who was in line who was watching this had actually complained to the managers about how I must be on drugs, how dare they hire such an incompetent worker, how I should be fired, and he still expected to be rung up, despite them trying to explain that I was having a seizure. Now, the man was having none of this. He was just telling the managers to just step over me to get his smokes and to get to the register. Then he caused a huge scene when they refused. They actually had to radio security to come and shoo people away and escort the man away because he would not leave without his smokes. So yeah, that's the story of my awesome time at work. Oh my freaking goodness, my friends. Reading the story absolutely broke my heart. It blows my mind that some people can act this way. I'm pretty sure any sensible person, even if they didn't recognize that it was a seizure at first, would have looked at the situation and understood to back off because it's a medical emergency at this point. Like, listen, sir, I think you'll survive without your smokes and lighters for a few more minutes. There's no need to cause a huge scene and telling people to step over OP to get your damn cigarettes. What in the world? Welcome to Entitled People, my friends. If you're new here, we're just getting warmed up. So this happened a few years ago when I was working at a large upscale beauty supply. Wigs, weaves, etc. Our register was a bit old-fashioned, so we had to punch in some items by hand. Now this is usually not a big deal, but definitely left some room for human error. One day, a woman comes in and my coworker pressed the wrong button and overcharged her by 10 cents. Now, my coworker instantly realizes what happened and refunded her the money and gave her a few full-size free samples. But upon hearing that her refund would take a few days to process, the woman flew into a fit. She screamed at how stupid we were, how a monkey could do our job, and that the manager needs to hire some competent people. I know it's a mistake, but geez lady, calm down. The 10 cents is getting refunded. At this point, I being the manager came over and tried to smooth things over. I offered her 10 cents directly from the register, and she refused. She wanted the money in her account immediately. I told her, "Ma'am, I want to clarify that the 10 cents is getting refunded to your account. It'll just take a few days to process." Now, at this point, she was screaming loud enough for the entire store to pretty much stop operating. Every customer in the store was focused on the drama. This lady would not leave. She wouldn't take a cash refund and only wanted a direct deposit of 10 cents in her account immediately. So at this point, I see no possible peaceful resolution, so I leave her with the assistant manager and head back to call the cops. While I'm in the back, I hear a sudden crashing sound, followed by some screaming. I run back out to the front to see that the woman has knocked over the entire cosmetics display, breaking most of the products and damaging the display itself. She was doing this and still screaming over 10 cents. She was dragged out of the store by police, and we ended up suing and winning for around $10,000 in damages. What in the world, my friends? This sounds like an incredible trade-off. I refuse your 10 cents. I'd rather pay you 10,000 freaking dollars instead. Guys, my mind is seriously blown. I'm trying to figure out her thought process and why the heck she flipped out over that refund not being in her bank account immediately. I mean, they offered her 10 cents on the spot. They offered her free full-size samples. And the 10-cent refund was coming. It was just coming in a few days. How the heck did she manage to turn that into a huge loss for herself? I got my first real job when I was 14 in the deli section of the local supermarket. To explain the story, I need to add a little bit of background. My little sister was being picked on at school by this girl who would follow her home from school, taunting her. Now, the girl lived nowhere near us, so I don't know why she was putting in so much effort to do this to her. On one particularly lovely day, my sister was walking with her friend when the girl ran up behind her and started to tease her. She mocked her and shoved her around. Feeling brave with her friend by her side, my sister swung around and ripped the girl back by her hair and slapped her in the face. 5 points to Gryffindor. The little pig went wee all the way home and cried wolf to her mother, who set a restraining order against my sister. Apparently not realizing how these things work, but to keep you in the loop, it works both ways. Neither party, or second parties, including friends and family, are allowed any contact with the other party, or their second parties. So here I am, 14-year-old me, working in the deli when this Karen, the mother of the girl, waltzes up to the counter. Now, knowing that I can't legally interact with her, I step back and quietly ask my colleague to serve her. But no, she wasn't here for ham. She was here for beef. So the lady starts screaming that how dare you refuse to serve me, and this is your job to serve me, and pulls out the old I would like to speak to your manager card. So here comes Mr. Bossman. He asks the situation from her, and she tells him the horror story about how I rudely refused service and left her standing waiting like a fool. Mr. Bossman turns to me and asks me if it's true. So I say, as clearly and as factually as possible, yeah, my colleague was willing to serve her though. Legally, I can't serve this woman due to a restraining order that she has against my 9-year-old sister. Everybody looked shocked. Mr. Bossman calmly turns to her and asks if this is true. She stumbles over her argument and screams, "This restraining order has nothing to do with this. She's a lousy employee." But Mr. Bossman is not a stupid man. He's been in the customer service game a very long time, and he's watched our reactions, and he knows an attention seeker when he sees one. He calmly turns back to this woman and says, "You are knowingly harassing my staff. You are no longer a welcome customer in the store, and if you choose to return, you will have a restraining order set against you by the name of the supermarket." Now, she did of course come back, and as promised, Mr. Bossman took her to court. As a side note, my sister ended up having her order lifted by the court as the girl continued to follow her home and harass her, breaching the order on at least 4 occasions. My friends, it is so nice to see justice at work. I can kinda see where her daughter's lousy attitude towards others comes from. The apple does not fall too far from the tree, right? Hopefully this woman learned her lesson, but probably not. For clarification and understanding purposes, I have a medical condition in which my blood circulation is extremely weak. My average resting pulse is around 45 beats per minute. When I sleep, it can go down to 30 beats per minute, endangering my life. When I'm physically active, not resting, my pulse reaches to around 60 beats per minute. A pulse of about 70 beats per minute for me is like 130 beats for someone with a normal or healthy blood circulation, so I pass out extremely easy. Therefore, I need to be super careful about my movements and actions and stuff, or else I'll get knocked unconscious in seconds of just standing up. Now, I never thought I'd encounter an entitled person myself, but unfortunately I did yesterday. It was around 8:30 in the morning. I was riding the bus to university. So I'm sitting there on the bus, listening to music, minding my own business, when all of a sudden someone taps me on the arm. I hear, "Excuse me, young man, could you please get up? This is my son's favorite spot on the bus." I replied, "What? I'm sorry, but I was here first and I really need this place." The lady responds, "Come on, there's plenty of room for you to stand. Just get up and give us the spot. My kid is younger than you." I told her I really can't. I'm sorry. If I get up now, She interrupts and says, "Get up. You seem fine. nothing's wrong with you. You are just lazy and don't want to stand. So while I'm trying to explain to the entitled mother that I do have a certain condition in which I need to be super careful about my movements, she keeps on screaming about how I was stealing her son's happiness and how lazy I am for not standing up for a mother and her child. Now, I was feeling my pulse rising because of the argument, and I got extremely anxious. I did not want to pass out on public transport. Her son looked really uncomfortable throughout this whole argument, and at one point tried to tell the mother to just leave me alone. The rest of the bus, of course, caught attention to the situation. All of a sudden, she grabs my hand and tries to take my pulse, saying, "Your pulse seems fine. What's wrong with you? Can't you just stand up?" Her grip was so firm that it left marks of her nails on my skin. She pulled me out of my seat, leaving me standing on a bus with an already way too high pulse for me and my condition. I tried to walk a few steps to find something to hold on to so I wouldn't fall, but it was already too late anyway. I fell to the ground, getting unconscious in the middle of a bus. What happened after that, I don't quite know. I got conscious, laying wrapped up in a blanket on the pavement, surrounded by paramedics, the police, and the bus driver. They explained to me what happened while I was gone, and the police took statements from the woman. They also took statements from other people on the bus and the bus driver, and took her into custody. They asked me if I wanted to give a statement now or later, and if I wanted to press charges for assault. And of course, I absolutely did. All I heard from her after I woke up was just screaming in disbelief and crying. So far, I'm sure that her health insurance company will have to pay for the ambulance, the paramedics, and other following medical bills. All public transport for the specific line was forced to stop for 3 hours, just because an entitled mother did not get what she wanted. I love the fact that OP pressed charges on this crazy lady. Far too many times there have been situations like this where nothing happens. At least now she'll learn not to grab someone. I mean, you shouldn't be grabbing people in the first place, but some people just don't get it. They just don't get it. So I'm a 35-year-old father of 2 boys. I have PTSD due to time overseas and have the physical scars to match the mental scars. I have an incredible wife that knows me and knows what situations I should avoid. My children are amazing, but this story revolves around my youngest son and my service dog. Jay, my youngest son, has autism, and we share a special bond because some things that set him off also put my teeth on edge. Spike is my English bulldog. He's my service dog. He's well-trained, lazy, judgmental, and overall uninterested in anything he can't eat. He's also very in tune to Jay and my emotions, and will provide distraction when we get overwhelmed. My family recently moved to Texas, and because we now live very close to an amusement park, we got memberships. This particular park in Arlington, Texas has a very special program for autistic people. They have rooms set aside to chill if you're overstimulated, so you can relax, get back out, get overstimulated again, and round you go. Now, with Jay, we also do not have to wait in lines. This is a huge thing and the cause of the story. The park has a pass that lets you skip most lines, and they charge an arm and a leg for this. However, with that pass, you still end up in line of the hundreds and hundreds of people that also have that pass. Now, with Jay, he gets no lines at all. We get a special pass that allows us to go in through the exit, and this is important. The worker signs the pass and we go on the ride. Jay has a favorite ride, the log ride, and on this day, T, my oldest, and Jay wanted to go on the log ride. So we made our way to the exit and left my wife and Spike in the shade because someone has to stay with the dog, because dogs and rides don't mix. As we were going in the exit, a woman starts screaming at us. I have absolutely no hearing on my right side, so I didn't consider it worth turning my head to listen to. Now, because we ride this ride almost exclusively, the workers on this ride know us by name and sight. We go in, show the pass, sit, and ride. This time though, Karen, the woman that was screaming at us, followed us to where the speedy pass ends, where a red shirt will check her pass and let her go on her way. Now, she did not even want to ride the ride. She just wanted to yell at us about going in through the exit and how we were abusing the system. The red shirt guy tries to calm her down. T's getting upset because he's a normal 9-year-old and adults yelling is uncool. Jay's making his excited sounds and waiting for the log to stop so he can get in. We get in, and as we float away, we still hear Karen screaming. The ride ends and we exit. We figured we would never see her again, but obviously if that was the case, you wouldn't be here right now. So Karen appears out of nowhere after the ride stopped, and she's screaming that just because Jay is an R word doesn't mean we get extra rights. At this point, my dog Spike is just lying there like nothing's going on. As we're being screamed at, I see 2 officers approaching from behind Karen. I smile, and my smile must have broke Karen because she hauls off and kicks Spike. Spike lets out a painful yelp. This flips my switch because now my family is literally under attack and I start to react. Before I could make contact, Karen is already in the air being held off and carried and dragged away while being cuffed. I take this time to unflip that switch and examine Spike. He's limping and crying. I feel his hips and feel that his hip is dislocated. The officer asked what happened and we all explain what happened from A to Z. He asked if Spike is a service dog and I say yes. He smiles, and I'm not in a mood to smile, but it catches me off guard. He explains that in Texas, to intentionally injure a service dog is a felony. By this time, park security arrived and issued a trespass order to Karen. The officers ask if I wanted to press charges. I look at Spike and look back and say, yes. Karen starts to freak out as she's loaded into a golf cart. We hop onto a golf cart too and leave to go to the vet. The vet fixed Spike and all is well. We went back the next day with Spike in a stroller. I've been contacted by the investigating officer and have given depositions. I may have to testify, but I look forward to sitting on a bench with Spike on my lap. Listen guys, there are some people in this world that feel the need to police everything. Who the heck cares if people are going through an exit, Karen? That's up to the employees of the park to deal with. As for kicking OP's service dog and dislocating that poor pup's hip, oh, somebody needs to boot her in the hip because that is just absurd. Now guys, there have been no updates to the story and I hope she got fat vet bills to pay and then some. Now guys, I don't know how severe the punishment is for attacking a service dog, but I do hope it's a long time behind bars because there was absolutely no excuse for her to boot poor Spike. Poor doggo. And that, my friends, brings us to another end of our slash entitled people. What a crazy ride today, guys, and I'm so glad to have you alongside with me. If you guys enjoyed the stories and want to hear more, I'll leave a few right here. Check it out if you haven't, and I'll see you lovely people in the next one. I love you. I really do.